Okay, so they told me they were gonna have to take him to the nursery. It was routine with big babies. They checked the blood sugar. Oops, sorry. They checked the blood sugar, and also he had took his first breath in the birth canal, so he um, had like more junk than the average little ball sucker could suck out. So they took him away, and I looked back down. The doctor was calling for sutures, and he told me that I had tore. And see, at this point, or up until that point, I didn't realize I had tore as well. Now I know that that pain I felt was the tearing, but at that point I just assumed it was just what a baby coming out of you felt like. So, um, he, so yeah, they did 3 levels of stitches. I'm not sure if that's like routine or if it was something special in my case, but like a deep layer stitches, another layer, and then the third, like the top layer, and I had a 3rd-degree tear, so it went, I don't know exactly how to judge it, but the way they were saying between a 3rd degree and a 4th degree, and a 4th degree is like the worst you can have. A 3rd degree goes right up to your butthole, and then a 4th degree goes through it. And so I didn't get that, luckily, because that can cause a whole bunch of other issues. But it went right up to, so he explained that, and then the local, by this point, had worn off, and so I felt them stitch me up. At the same time, after what I had just been through, it wasn't that bad. I wasn't screaming through it. I would tense up a little bit when he would tighten the stitch, he'd have to like tug on it a bit, and that hurt, but the stitching didn't hurt too bad. They brought the baby back in because they knew I wanted to nurse him, and they helped me, like, because they had let me keep my bra on the whole time, so I wasn't naked underneath the robe, so they helped me, like, we have maternity, like, in our gowns in the OB department, they have 2 slits right here, but they also have like sleeves you can just like pop open, like, and just go like this, and then you're kind of hanging out. So they helped me do that and take like my bra off or lift it up, or one of the two, I don't remember, and tried to nurse him, and he like kind of latched on like a little bit, but I was so weak at this point I couldn't hold him. He just seemed like he weighed 10 tons to me. He was so heavy, and I wanted to hold him so bad. But I remember just begging, like, my mom or the nurse, I think my mom ended up taking him, but just begging to be just like, please take him, I'm going to drop him, because my arm was slowly, like, relaxing, and he was slowly, like, falling further down my stomach, So, yeah. So they gave me a bottle of formula, and they like kind of held my arm so I could like feed him a little bit, so I had something, and then someone else took him. That was pretty much the last thing I remember. I remember them cleaning. I remember the doctor finishing up, and I remember telling Mom to like clean up the room because my husband can't see blood. And so they kind of like cleaned up as much blood and stuff as possible and got me kind of covered. And then my husband came in, and I remember seeing him hold the baby, and then that was it. It's just like black. I don't remember. And then they woke me up about an hour later, and they told me, they were like, I'm sorry, but we need the room. Can you walk? And I said, oh yeah, I can, because oddly enough, I felt really good. I mean, I hurt and I was bruised still, but I felt like, emotionally, I felt like I could just like get up and just like walk out of the hospital, And so I got up, and I was really proud, and I took a couple steps, and I didn't fall or anything, and I asked if I could go to the bathroom, and they were like, yeah, so, and they had to put the mesh panties and the pad thing on anyway, so I I went to the bathroom and the nurse followed me in, and I remember, like, all of a sudden I felt really tired. That's like my eyes wouldn't stay open. And then the next thing I remember is I woke up and I felt something like warm on my face, and it was like kind of soft, and I kind of went like this a little bit, like, what is this? And I looked up and I was laying on my nurse's stomach, or like laying up against it. I was sitting on the toilet laying up against my nurse's stomach. Like she was standing in front of me and I was like this, laying on her. And oh my gosh, it was good. So, and she told me, "It's okay, you just passed out, you know," and I was like, "How long?" And she said, like, "Oh, just a little bit." And I was like, oh, okay. And then another nurse came in. They brought in a wheelchair because obviously I was not going to be walking down to my room. And I stood up and I felt really great, and I sat in the wheelchair by myself. And then the next thing I remember is waking up and my head was back like this against the other nurse's stomach. And they're like, "Yeah, you passed out again." I don't really remember, like, I remember them wheeling me out of the room. My husband was waiting outside the room. The baby was in the nursery at this point. And I remember telling my husband, like, "I passed out." And then the next thing I remember was like waking up at 9 o'clock the next morning in my postpartum room wanting the baby. But first I wanted to go to the bathroom again because I had to pee so bad again. So I got up by myself, didn't wake up my husband or anything, walked to the bathroom, and sat on the toilet, and I started feeling that way again. And I hit the nurse call button, and she came in, and I remember her saying, like, "I told you to call me if you had to go somewhere." And then I woke up again, leaning up against her, like a minute or two later. And so she got me all ready. She like helped me stand up. I'm like trying to wipe myself, you know, or pat myself, you know. She got me back to the bed, and because I also had my IV too. I was like dragging my IV around. It was funny. Helped me back to the bed, and yeah, it was just bad. And then directly after that, they were like, "Okay, well, we'll bring in the baby, but you just stay in bed, you know." And they had something in my IV, like fluids or some sort, and then they kept giving me iron pills. And then if you watch my postpartum video, you'll kind of find out what happened after that. But that was my labor and delivery, and a little bit afterwards. So hope that, I don't know, it's not very encouraging, is it? If you guys have any questions or anything, just go ahead and ask me. Bye.